Welcome to Functional Philosophy. I'm Charles Tew. That's T as in Tango, E as in Echo, and W as in Whiskey. This is episode number 40, and its title is The Objectivity of Values. Hello everyone. Before I get into today's main subject, I want to address a confusion that I believe many people may have had regarding last week's topic, how altruism kills at the political level in the form of socialism. One commenter suggested that socialism kills because it necessitates the killing of people who won't go along with altruism because it's not in their self-interest. This is a major mistake. Socialism doesn't kill just through political purges. It doesn't just kill the people who won't go along with it. It kills by malinvestment, to put it dryly. People make iron instead of bread and starve. Why? Society needs iron, so people are forced to sacrifice and make iron. Now, obviously very few people still put up with socialism when their own death is the obvious consequence, but they support it in theory and are then forced into practicing it. Many of the people being killed by the socialists or their policies would tell you that altruism is moral even as they are being gunned down or starved because they don't see the connection. It's not a matter of accepting death willingly in concrete terms. It's a matter of advocating the ideas that kill you, even if you don't see your death as a consequence, even as that consequence is visiting you. The idea I'm responding to suggests that socialism would work if people just went along with it, and only fails because it's against human nature. That's wrong. Socialism doesn't work because it tells people to sacrifice, and giving up life-serving values causes death. You might say that if everyone is giving everyone else values, then it will even out. But that's obviously not true, because people know what they need more than what other people need. But also, that's why socialism and all forms of collectivism are mystical. The mysticism of a transcendent group entity is the solution to the contradiction of asking everyone to sacrifice for everyone else. If it's immoral to receive sacrifices and only moral to give, then how can everyone be moral? By conceiving of the group as an entity apart from all of the individuals who make it up, and then everyone can simultaneously sacrifice for this God, and no one has to benefit from the sacrifices, which would be immoral on the altruist view. The bottom line is socialism doesn't fail because people don't go along with it. It fails because people do go along with it. They are forced to. Okay, now for today's main subject, the objectivity of values. First, let me define what I mean by objective. There are two senses of objective. In the more traditional, mainstream usage of the term, objective means independent of consciousness. The table in front of me is objective because it exists whether I'm looking at it or am aware of it or not. That's fine, but there's a more sophisticated, uniquely objectivist understanding of this term. In the objectivist conception, objective means a proper relationship between the mind and reality, between consciousness and existence. So it's a relational thing. It doesn't just refer to something out there totally independent of you. It refers to the relationship, the proper relationship between you and something out there. Now, what do I mean by values? By values, I just mean things you act to gain or keep. That's Ayn Rand's definition. Things you act to gain or keep. Just things you go after. Things you try to get. This can be a can of corned beef hash you go to the supermarket to buy. It can be the career you want. It can be the virtue of honesty you want to make second nature, you want to make habitual. Anything on any level that you try to get, that's a value. Things you go after, things you try to gain or keep if you already have them and have to maintain them. Now, the two dominant views regarding values are the intrinsic view and the subjective view. The intrinsic view is common among religious people. This is the view that things are valuable apart from valuers. It's the view that skyscrapers are good, for instance. It's good for skyscrapers to exist. We should build skyscrapers because they are a kind of achievement. They're good things in themselves apart from any valuer. Well, obviously they're not good things apart from any valuer. They're good because they're good for human beings. They allow us to live in them, work in them, be more productive, have shelter, along with all the conveniences in modern skyscrapers. They're good to human beings. They're not good in themselves. The religious view is you should go do things because they're intrinsically good. It's intrinsically good to do these things apart from your evaluation or how these good things relate to you. Environmentalists are often like this. Reduction of pollution or CO2 in the atmosphere or whatever. It's just good in itself. And then if you ask, well, but maybe if we look at this and see how it actually relates to us, on balance, using fossil fuels is an incredible advantage. It's making our lives actually much better on balance. You wouldn't trade the standard of living we have now just to get rid of smog if it meant going back to the cave and giving up skyscrapers. So clearly it's better for us, even if it means some parts of the air are dirtier that don't bother us too much or don't mean much to us on balance. They say, no. But it's just intrinsically bad. Like reducing your footprint, right? Your carbon footprint, whatever kind of footprint. Reducing your impact on nature. That's intrinsically good. Why? Why is that good? Good to whom? For what? That's out of their conception. It's intrinsically good, apart from anyone. It's not good for anyone, it's just good. Well, that's obviously wrong. But now the other side says, well, yes, of course, that's wrong. Because values are subjective. You have to choose what you want. It's all up to you. If you feel something is good, it's good. Nobody can tell you a skyscraper is intrinsically good. It's good because it relates to you. And so if you say, well, you know what? I prefer a mud hut. I just want to live in this mud hut and to hell with skyscrapers and modern housing. Nobody can say that's worse than a skyscraper. Your mud hut is worse than a skyscraper because values are relative to the valuer. So whatever you feel, whatever you want, that's the standard of values. There's no mystical, intrinsic thing out here that says skyscraper's good, mud hut's bad. Values relate to the valuer. You want a mud hut? That means the mud hut is better than the skyscraper if you prefer it over the skyscraper. This is how libertarians often think, and this is how they try to defend capitalism. They say, well, we can't have government control over production because that's an intrinsicist view. That's the view that skyscrapers are always good for everyone. That's the view that skyscrapers are just inherently better than mud huts. But you can't tell me what I like. Yeah, maybe a soda tax will make everybody healthier by stopping them from drinking soda that causes them to die, but maybe I want to die. Maybe I want to be unhealthy. Maybe for me, drinking a bunch of soda and getting diabetes and fat, maybe that's what I want. And you can't say that's intrinsically or objectively wrong. So this is why we can't have government control, because values are subjective and capitalism is what allows you to be subjective. And this is why statism doesn't work. Socialism doesn't work. Any kind of control doesn't work. Because there are no objective or intrinsic values. Well, that is obviously wrong, too. A skyscraper is better than a mud hut. if you want to be able to survive and do the kind of things that make human beings happy, a skyscraper is better, objectively, than a mud hut. A mud hut is more dangerous, it's dirtier, it facilitates life in a far inferior way compared to a skyscraper. So there's obviously some element of reality apart from your feelings that is relevant to values. So what's the right answer here? Well, the right answer is that values are objective. You have to choose the right thing. There are two elements to that. You have to choose it, and it has to be the right thing. It can't just be whatever you choose. I mean, you might feel like you want to drink poison. That doesn't mean it's good for you. You might feel like you want to lie, cheat, and steal. That doesn't mean it will make you happy. It won't. That's a huge issue for another episode. If you're confused about that, talk about that another time. I already have many times, but I will again in the future. But the point is just having these kinds of conscious states that make life worth living, that are really the only reason to live. There's certain kinds of things, and any certain kind of thing requires a certain means to get there. You want to lose weight, you can't just do whatever you feel like. You have to take a certain specific set of actions to get there. You have to follow a certain path. It's cause and effect. If you want a certain effect, you have to enact a certain cause. You want to be happy, and no one can honestly say, well, I wouldn't be happy if I were happy. That's what happiness is. If you want to be happy, you have to do certain kinds of things. What those things are, we'll save that for another time. But what's important is you have to do certain kinds of things if you want to be happy. And so some things are objectively better in terms of facilitating what would make your life worthwhile than other things. So the fact that you feel something, that's out. You have to choose the right thing, what is actually to your benefit in reality. So subjective is out. But intrinsic is also out, because you have to choose it. If you are just handed something, or if it is forced on you, it is not a value. A value is something you act to gain or keep. If you don't have to act for it, it's not a value. Now, that doesn't mean it always has to be extremely difficult to gain, but it has to be something that's not automatic. It has to be something that you had to take action to get. Even inheritance can be that in a certain sense. You have to accept the inheritance. You have to use it to your benefit. It's not automatic. But if someone says, oh, I'm going to think for you, I'm going to do everything for you, and I'm not even going to let you choose to accept what I do for you. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to implement a soda tax because soda is unhealthy. It's going to make you healthier to drink less soda, so I'm going to force you to be able to afford less. Is that a value to you? In that case, is your health a value to you that you gained through force? No, it isn't. You say, well, but, it is objectively healthier, right? Even if it's forced on me, I may not get diabetes because I was forced to do what was in my own self-interest. Yes, you may not get diabetes, and if you had chosen to drink soda and were left free to do so, you may have gotten diabetes, and that would be bad, but you cannot be happy, which is the only reason to live. You cannot be happy if you don't make your own decisions. So you do have to be free to make your decisions, but that's not because what's good for you is subjective. It's because you have to choose what's good for you, or else it isn't good for you. If you cheat on a test, does that make you feel good? No, because you didn't achieve anything. You had all the answers. You were given all the answers. There was no possibility of failure. Maybe you feel good that you cheated successfully, but in terms of actually getting the answers right, no, because it was just a given. Happiness is a reward for thinking and acting appropriately, according to your best judgment, from succeeding in reality according to your own thought. If you don't have to think or act for yourself, you will lose the capacity to feel happy. Happiness is there. It is a possible state of consciousness because it is necessary in order to motivate you to take the actions you need to take in order to survive. If you don't need it to motivate you, you will lose it. You will become like a plant. A plant feels nothing because it doesn't need to feel anything. It's just a biological machine. So if somebody comes in and thinks for you, forces values on you, he is crowding out your mind. He is removing your need to think and, therefore, your need to feel any reward for thinking, which is what happiness is. And this is why values are not intrinsic. They aren't just things that exist out there apart from you. They are things as they relate to you. And on the human level, that means not just material resources you use to survive, not just food, water, energy to keep your body going, but abstract relationships, things you have evaluated on the conceptual level. You have to judge that something is worth pursuing in abstract terms and then pursue it if you are going to get the abstract reward for pursuing those abstract values, which is happiness. So values are not whatever you feel like going after, and they're not good things that are forced on you. They are good things you have recognized are good things and chosen to go after. Obviously, the fact that you feel something is good doesn't make it good. It won't necessarily lead to your survival or happiness. It may harm both of those things. But even if the right thing is forced on you, to put it in colloquial terms, you won't appreciate it. You won't be capable of appreciating it because you didn't have to do anything for it. If you are going to survive and be happy, you have to retain your ability to think and act. Thanks for listening. If you have any questions, you can send me an email at charles.a.2@gmail.com. You can also visit my website at charlestew.com. There you can find information on and links to all my work, including ways to support it. And the best way you can support this show is with a recurring donation on Patreon or by leaving a review on iTunes. Either of those will help a lot. In any case, thanks for listening. Let's meet again in episode 41.